In preparation for our thin mill topping or our micro topping skim coat, earlier we demonstrated using the buffing machine to obtain our profile. We demonstrated both wet and dry with the black stripping pad. Then we switched over to the 100 grit sanding screen, and then we put a 150 grit sanding pad or disc on there, wet, and we determined that that by far was the best. We were able to take a little bit of the paste off the surface and expose the fine aggregates or the sands, and that gave us a surface of roughly what would be the equivalent of about a 150 grit sandpaper, which is ideal for these micro toppings. Now, as an alternative to the sanding, you can use a product like this, which is called HD24 pre-grind. The pre-grind, what that represents is in the polished concrete market, a lot of guys are having difficulty with their first initial metal bond pass on excessively hard concrete, opening the cap of the surface. And what this does is by rolling or squeegeeing it down over the surface, it in essence opens the pores and etches the concrete, allowing for the diamond tooling to be able to grind more aggressively. What we found is a product like this gelled acid is great for thin mill toppings like micro toppings. Material cost is somewhere in the vicinity of about 20 to 23 cents per square foot, but it is really great if you don't have the other equipment that we showed you. A couple of things to be concerned about when working with this product. Number one, it's not a bad idea to go ahead and protect yourself, especially if you're in an enclosed area. You want to go ahead and wear the appropriate type of respirator, and also just some non-absorbent gloves to protect yourself, and some safety goggles to avoid any splashing getting in your eyes as well. Prior to the application, what we found works best is to obtain what we refer to as SSD, saturated surface dry. And what that means is we pre-wet the concrete substrate, and then we allow it to fully absorb or fully saturate into the pores of the concrete, but yet there's no standing water. If you notice over here to my right, you see where it appears almost whitish in color. Okay, right over here, there's no water that's absorbed, but the area in which I'm kneeling, you'll see that it's really dark in color. That's because we pre-wet the surface, and that does two things relative to using a product like this. Number one, by saturating it first, it extends the square footage coverage rate that you're going to get with this material. So let's say, for example, a material like this was 23 cents a square foot. Simply by pre-wetting it, you might be down in the material cost of 18 cents per square foot just by pre-wetting it, because it's extending the square footage coverage rate. But probably more importantly than that is by saturating all the capillaries in the pores of the concrete, you're actually driving this material to fully react. It's actually helping this material absorb into the pores to get a full reaction. Now, there's different grades of this material. This manufacturer produces varying degrees of etching capabilities. This is for aggressive profiling. In a later video, we're going to demonstrate some decorative applications using flat tooth stencils with a version of this that's not as aggressive as this. So make sure you're looking into the correct product. The material can either be rolled on, it can also be squeegeed on, and if you want to get a full, complete reaction, it's not a bad idea to go ahead and you can brush it. And on a large application, you can use the buffing machine like we used earlier with a stiff bristled attachment. Depending on the ambient and substrate temperatures and the porosity of the concrete, you're probably going to let the material dwell and react for probably 5 minutes, no more than 10 minutes. And then you can come back with clean water, and then you can neutralize it. Now look, just the clean water is going to neutralize the material by itself, but assuming that you're using scrubbing equipment like a buffing machine that has metal components, it's not a bad idea to go ahead and either use a self-conditioning neutralizing cleaner, okay, a neutral cleaner, or you could put some a little splash of ammonia or baking soda in the water just to help neutralize any material from getting on the machine. So let's demonstrate for how this product goes down. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to just put this respirator on. If the material is working properly, you should be able to see a fizzing occurring. So we're just going to throw this on. Now if you choose to, you could actually squeegee it on as well. We'll let that sit on the surface for no more than 5 minutes. We're getting a nice, full, intense reaction. We'll come back with clean water, a little bit of neutral cleaner, and scrub it clean, and we'll see what type of a profile we get. 8 minutes has transpired since we applied our HD24 pre-grind. Now what we're going to do is just simply take a plastic scraper. You wouldn't want to use metallic or metal. Obviously that could corrode the metal. And so we're going to just scrape the residue, okay, which is not a lot. Now obviously on a much bigger job you're going to be using a stand up or a walk behind scraper just to get the residual off. And because this is very porous concrete, we're not getting a lot of residual, hardly any, as you can see right here. So we'll just take some of it off here to show you, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to just neutralize, just to make certain. We've got clean water, and what we did is we have just a neutral cleaner basically that we put maybe 4 ounces in here in this container of water. So I'm just going to neutralize it. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of a profile we get here. And then what we do is we're going to scrub it aggressively. Now once again, on a large job you'd be using a buffing machine like we demonstrated earlier with scrubbing bristle attachment to get this residual up. But it appears to me like we have a nice aggressive profile here. Right over our crack that we earlier repaired. You can literally see the dark line of where that was applied compared to where none of it was applied. What you don't want to do is allow that to dry, okay? So I want to promptly go ahead and vacuum that up. We do not want it to dry on the surface. You can very vividly see exactly where this material was applied. Look at this line right here, all the way around there, even to the point where I just took the roller cover and just set it here, and the squeegee and set it here. You can see it etched into the pores. So this is every bit as aggressive as our sanding with a 150 grit sandpaper. So we've got a nice profile right here that would be ideal for allowing the microtopping or the skim coat to adhere to the surface after it's been primed. Every project has its own unique qualities. For this reason, that's why it's important to consult your Duraman representative for project-specific questions. Now you may have questions on mix ratios, which is certainly listed on their website, or other project concerns such as moisture. Now the industry standard is 3 pounds of moisture vapor transmission in 1,000 square feet in a 24-hour window. Now Duraman has a complete line of moisture related products. For example, Purdue MVT will take 8-pound readings and it'll cover up to 8 pounds and 1,000 square feet in 24 hours. Purdue MVT Plus will get you 18 to 20 pounds of moisture vapor transmission and bring it down to within acceptable tolerances. And also a great system to consider is Purdue UMC, which is the urethane modified concrete, which is good up to 18 to 20 pounds of moisture vapor transmission.